Ha ha. You better choose yourself and let's get it. Welcome to another episode on the Choose Yourself channel. Now, we are living in an obesity epidemic. 1/3 of the people overweight. What are you doing? They will clock in early for a boss they barely even like, but won't clock 20 minutes on a treadmill for the body they stuck with for life. Come on now, answering emails and answering DoorDash, hitting deadlines and hitting vapes, chasing promotions and chasing chips with pop. You know I'm from the Midwest, snoozing the alarm clock just to hit the fridge and chase fake dopamine. What are you doing? We talking about delayed gratification, not the instant, but it's about the balance, baby. But nowadays, we're overfed, undermoved, overstimulated, and somehow confused. Why we feel empty, dopamine on tap, purpose on do not disturb. Wow. We consume more than any other generation in history: food, content, opinions, notifications, prescriptions, yet struggle to commit to one thing that gives us clarity, confidence, and discipline: moving your body and growing your mind. Now, your body is the receipt for what you believe. If you believe in your creator, your vessel should reflect stewardship, not neglect. If you say your family matters, then your health should matter. If you talk about purpose in your business or sales, your discipline should back it up and should be visible in your physique. And a lot of times I could see your lack of choices in your physique. Can you really trust an unfit partner who can't stop feeding their face and skipping workouts? So today's episode isn't about abs. It's about alignment. We're going to talk about mindful consumption, balance, body transformation, a little bit of peptides, and how fitness isn't just physical, it's spiritual and scientifical. Today's guest is from the Caribbean and came here to build a life of his own. Now he coaches executives, entrepreneurs, and salespeople to teach them how to fill up their cup and then pour from an overflow onto their careers and the ones they love. Because when your body's in order, your mind follows. Welcome to the show, Mr. Waren English. My man, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. And I love that intro. Yeah, a lot of what you said is the conversations I have with people. And I like the word scientifically. I've never heard that one before, but I like it.
Yeah, hey, in the choose yourself, authentic, neuro-authentic mindset, you just make up words. And as long as people can understand what you're saying, man, choose yourself and say it.
hmm
Because words are power. And a
Yeah.
lot of times when we speak to people, we don't even realize that we're creating a certain mindset in our belief system by saying, oh, I can't. Oh, I'm trying. Oh, I wish I had this. When in actuality, it's in our possession the whole time. When did you get into the health and fitness to where you embraced accountability and, through your story? Where was the part that you had to turn your wound into wisdom and then seek to grow and come over here and build for yourself?
Yeah. So the journey with fitness, I would say, started when I was a teenager. Growing up in the Caribbean, I was much of a home kid for the majority of my life. Um, with both my parents being in my life. My mom stayed with me when I was in younger days, primary school up until I went to high school, what we call high school in the Caribbean. Then she started working again. I got into sports, and sports was really the catalyst for me. So, what led me to end up into the big fitness, nutrition, all the sciences was my big dream when I was in the Caribbean was to go to school in America. So when I was in high school, what we call high school, you guys would call high school now. We it's like middle school and high school. You guys separate them. We just call that high school. Um, I was pretty big on volleyball and basketball. I was hoping to get a scholarship and then come to America and be able to play that and go to school and then live in America. But that dream disappeared when I tore my ACL just when I was graduating. At that point, I had already represented my country in basketball in the under 19 team, representing the country in volleyball under 19 team, and then that injury just took it all away. So from there, I had to pivot, and the pivot was bodybuilding. Right, the natural bodybuilding. Did my first show. Um, didn't know what I was doing, but that's how you start the process, right? You just give it a shot. You learn some things, you get you right about some things, you're wrong about some things, and then as you continuously stick with it, then you figure it out. So my pivot at the time was that I didn't have the opportunity to go to America and study whatever was over here. So my family and I decided that we're just going to stick with pharmacy, something in the healthcare realm, because I was still passionate about that. So pharmacy is actually my background. Did that in South America, and I got extremely lucky with the opportunity to come to America. It was on the back of my grandpa who came here in the 90s. He's been living here for a while. He got his citizenship in the early 2000s, and he put in an application for all of his family to get their green card. And he did that for me when I was 10 years old. So unbeknownst to me, I had no idea. I'm just living my life. I had that ACL injury. I thought it was over. I thought I was just going to be in the Caribbean all the time. Couldn't get to come to America and try to do all the big dream things. And then all of a sudden, in my last year of university, my grandpa calls me and he's telling me that they approved the green card application. They're starting the process. I need to go to the embassy. And then when I graduate, I'm coming to the US. This is back in 2020. So, um, yeah, it was a very, very long story with me getting here, but yeah, since I've been here, and I realized I had the opportunity to take it further with my passion for, well, pretty much I'd say my passion for learning, and that learning really came in the form of nutrition, exercise, and health in general. So. Uh, Being in America, America has a lot of opportunity, and one of the opportunities is being able to do your own thing, build your own business. So I started doing the coaching and as you said, been able to help a lot of folks, specifically tailored now to business professionals, executives, salespeople who really want to level up in their career. And a big part of that is having the foundation in your health, right? So you have the energy, you have the focus, you have the confidence to do what you got to do. So yeah, I'll pause it there. There's a lot more I could share about my background, but I'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, no, I mean that's impressive. I couldn't even leave this country until I was 31. So that's it's nice to hear about somebody who wants to come here because I couldn't stand geography because I couldn't even travel outside of my hometown because of some shit I did when I was 19. But in that process, the choose yourself process was born. Would you consider your dark place?
My dark place was, well, I have to choose one, and I would say the dark place has been, yeah, just one, right? Everybody goes through hard times. I would say one of my darkest moments, man, has been uh, when I first came to America. I didn't know for sure that I wanted to do the nutrition thing, like the coaching and all that. I had to figure it all out again, because when you think about it, you grew up in a small island where everybody knows everybody, and you create this community. You have your friends and you have the relationships. Then you get ripped out of that in order to, you have to go study. So the first time I got ripped out of that was when I had to go study in South America. Um, I mean, I wanted to study in America, but that would have been a welcomed rip apart, getting to the
Hmm.
place I want to be. But anyway, um, moving to Guyana, first of all, but I had family there. So there's some familiarity. And then having to move again to New York, that's when I first came to America. And the reason why I call that a dark time, because it was kind of a hard move, man. I mean, yeah, I was grateful that we had my grandparents here to kind of help give us a start. But the first couple months or within the first year we were living here, me and my family, my immediate family, my mom, my dad, my sisters, we were kind of living out of one bedroom in New York, if you can imagine, right?
Damn. Yeah.
And yeah, trying to live a new life here. And I still had my ambitions, and I still, wanted to do something significant. But, when you kind of cramped in like that, it's hard to, or, I don't know, really feel a lot of the, not feel, but you just want to get out of that, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. So, um, it was a hard time, but the mindset that I took with it is just that, one, I was grateful to be here in the first place, and it was just the beginning, and it couldn't get worse than this. It could be worse than this. I could have not had anywhere to live. So, um, yeah, I think I met you within that first year too, where I was
2020 or
working part time.
2021? Yeah, that's about the first time I
Yeah,
came here too from
2021.
Minneapolis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2021, and I was at the Crunch Fitness on Union Square, and that was one of the first gigs that I picked up, just using my background in fitness and and my pharmacy experience and whatnot. The other thing that made it hard too is because I graduated in pharmacy, you expect, oh, well, you graduated in pharmacy. Why don't you go work in pharmacy? Pharmacists make good money. When you graduate from a foreign school, especially if you're just a bachelor's in America, you need like the PharmD nowadays. You need to go to like grad school and get a doctorate. So with a bachelor's in pharmacy, I realized that the only path that I had to practice what I studied was to go back to school for another 3 to 4 years. That's like $100,000 plus, right, in tuition for me to have to start making money, and just that just didn't make any sense to me. So dealing with all of that was pretty difficult, but um, I got to say, I could have made a lot of worse choices to pull myself out of that, but I just took it in stride, man. Got myself that gig over there at Union Square, and worked my way up a bit, and then eventually started doing that business, and the business gave me the opportunity to move to Texas, where I'm at right now. So, um, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell y'all when I first met him, I was with my boy, we was lifting, and I had a torn labrum. I just tore my labrum, and so we was doing chest flies on the machine, and I was doing 100 pounds. This motherfucker came over, stacked it, did it from old reps with all the way down. He like 6'4", jacked, right? I'm like, yeah, I know he's strong. I'm like, this is pretty heavy. I'm with a dude smaller than me. So the dude smaller than me, I'm like trying to be mindful, like the weights, even though it was adjustable. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do 10 sets with push-ups. He's like, can I work in? Move the pin all the way down. I say, yeah, dang, I gotta work on my damn labrum because this is embarrassing. I need to get my damn weight up. But I appreciate you motivating me because ever since then, I looked up rehab for my labrum and I started implementing it into my morning foundation and started to rehab
Mhm.
my, and now I can stack the machine. I mean, I've been stacking it for a couple years now, but I couldn't even put my shoulder all the way back up until like that brought some type of motivation to me like damn I should be lifting more. I used to be strong as hell but I got all these injuries and all this. But I was talking about my foundation, man. How did what shifted in your foundation? You got a bunch of family in the house. It sounds like you got a beautiful family, man. That's one of the biggest blessings you could have had as a support to lead the way, have your mom and dad and your sisters, man. To be crammed in a one bedroom is kind of like a good problem, I feel like, especially moving to New
I
York.
that's exactly what I said. It's like, it was difficult because we got to be cramped up in a space, but in a lot of ways, it could have been worse. I could have had nobody. I could have been homeless. I could have been
Right.
starting from absolute scratch.
Bunch of
So,
homeless people out here.
um, yeah, yeah, exactly. In New York, that's pretty.
How did your foundation shift? How did you adjust your foundation? Because a lot of people have stuff immediately around them that they can take advantage of, whether it be communities, gyms, whether obviously the cold
Mhm.
shower meditation journal, endless free YouTube, endless free internet. And how did you stay locked in that transition? What was your understanding of choosing yourself at least once a day or at least 5 times a week? Like, what was your measurement for that?
Yeah. So the story gets a little bit chaotic here, with all the different things and that I tried and decided to do to figure myself out. And I'm still in that process of figuring myself out here in America. But to stay locked in, I knew that well, needed to start making that money first and foremost, right? I couldn't give up my health. That was one thing. I knew that that was the foundation of something I understood very much at that point. So I stayed working out. As much as I could, I try to get outdoors and get a walk in or go for a jog or go to the gym. Actually, within my first month moving to America, with the goal of determining, how do I make money here? I interviewed a lot of places. I spoke to a lot of people, not excluding the U.S. Army. So I am a veteran. I am with still working with them in the reserves right now. My contract
Gratitude.
ends in a
Thank you.
couple months here. Yeah, yeah. And within my first month living in America, I spoke to a recruiter, and I don't know if you ever spoke to recruiters, man.
One time they tried to walk up to me, but I never, ever since I was on felony probation when I was 19 for a one-punch fight for 20 years probation, and that kinda put a sour taste in my mouth for the system and the government and this country, which is what I was kinda referring to before, but it's in my book, Choose Yourself to Be Chosen. You can get it on Amazon and Barnes& and Noble if you're listening and you wanna hear more details, but, yeah, how'd that conversation go?
Well, they were selling me the world, man. They knew exactly who I was. I mean, they were good at their salespeople, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. So I'm just here new, and they're like, "Oh, you're new. You know, you could get citizenship, and then within a year." I'm like, "Oh, how's that work?" You know, it's like, "Oh," they're
Off
like,
the bat.
they're like, "Yeah, you know, we'll give you money if you want to go back for school. I know you say you have this pharmacy degree. Oh man, you know, it costs a lot to go and get your PharmD. You know, if you join the army." We'll help you pay for it. I'm like, oh, really? All of this? So, within the first month, man, they got me to sign up, and I signed up for basic training. That was back in it was actually in the same year, 2021. I went out for basic training and then did the full shebang and was officially in the army, drilling in the reserves, got my citizenship and everything like they promised, but signed my life away for about 6 years, which ends this year. So that was one thing, right? And when I got access to their facility, they had a gym. I didn't have a gym membership at the time because, you know, just figuring everything out. So I used their gym when I was in my first couple months, you know, and just it was about a half a mile walk. So I would walk from the apartment where we were at, and I walk and go to that gym, and then I get my workout in, and then I come back. And then at the same time, I was still exploring options for going back to school. I wasn't too sure if I wanted to do the PharmD because that was like 3, 4 years. So I was looking at other things, shorter programs that are like masters and stuff that's maybe a little bit more uh, uh, better to get into in the long term, I would say. So I was applying for like grad schools at the time as well. So I reached out to mentors. I got a mentor that was at Cornell. He was doing a PhD and he trying to help me do the grad school applications, and then one at the Rockefeller Institute. Are you familiar with that? You know what that is?
I know Rockefeller. I don't know about the institute. Tell me about it.
Yeah, yeah. That's where I believe I got the name right, but they have a lot of basically it's a grad school and it's a research institution. So a lot of people with PhDs, they do biological, medical research there, stuff like that.
Top tier.
And Top tier, exactly. So I was thinking to myself, okay, well, if I'm not going to do pharmacy, I don't want to commit to 3, 4 years. If I do a master's, it might be a year and a half, and potentially I could get myself something else that's really good. So but I didn't know how to do the application because I'm not from America. So I reached out to mentors, and I was doing a lot of groundwork. So a lot of the big things that I was understanding was really key at the time was like things like AI and the new age of medicine, personalized medicine. So I was as tough as it was because like it's loud at home. You got your family, they're talking, you know, sometimes they're watching stuff. And I just got to find my own little corner. And I'm just like reading little books on the PDF on my phone because I wasn't buying them, right? I used to get these books for free on pdfdrive.com, and I just
Hey,
like read a bunch of
however you get it done, shit. You know?
yeah. pdfdrive.com, man. And I used to just read a bunch of books to kind of get myself up to speed with, I guess, what I would consider the competition at the time if I wanted to like really land myself something good. Um, but anyway, after I did get into a grad school, by the way, it was NYU, and I was gonna do their master's in what you call bioinformatics. So it's basically biology plus computer science. I spent one semester there, and I then after that I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna waste." I felt like it was a waste of time. I'll be honest with you. But you know what? I'm kind of going off track here. To answer your question, I locked in with the working out, right? I stayed very consistent with that. I dedicated myself to like learning so that I can be able to feel confident because you don't know what you don't know. So when you're just so uncertain and so unaware of like what's your next step forward, y- you're putting yourself in a better position by just taking action, even if you don't know where that action is going to take you. Because without clarity, the only thing that can give you any type of confidence at all is action. So you
Hmm.
go, you make a mistake, you figure it out, you're like, okay, I'm not going to do that. And then you do something else. And then when you do that something else, you realize, oh, well, this actually is moving me in a good direction. So I'm gonna keep doing this. Right. So that's basically how I approached that entire first year. That includes me talking to like the military. That includes me reaching out to people for like grad school. That includes me like trying to get jobs elsewhere. Cause within the first year as well, my first job was actually working in pharmacy because I wanted to see, did I really want to do this pharmacy route? Did I really want to go back to grad school? I worked at CVS in retail, not in retail, but as a pharmacy assistant in my first year. I I realized I would have hated my life because they hated their lives. And I don't want to talk
He's
down on
like,
the pharmacy world,
everybody,
but like,
everybody here is
you ever walk
miserable
into
because
yeah, they hate their lives. Why would I want to do that? So I just want to make sure I answer that question outright
yeah.
before I go off
What
on a time.
man? Most of my knowledge comes from books experience. I research what is interesting to me at the moment. Because if it's interesting for you in the moment, you retain more information. Don't go researching how to build a
That's right.
damn $1 million business all damn day, every day, if you ain't even got your first 100,000. Figure out the systems that get you to 100,000 because that's what's most attainable. You talking about $1 million, reading these Warren Buffett books, that's good. Yeah, understand the end goal, but then figure out how to make 10K in a month. Watch books on how to make 10K in a week. Watch books on how to build your clientele. Watch books on how to make your product more efficient, the small steps. And so that's exactly what I did too, man. Books every day. I say audio, cardio. I do an audio with cardio. I've been doing that for 3 years. I do 15 minutes. It releases the endorphins, it releases the neurochemicals, it gets oxygen to your brain. And it's a form of active meditation where if you focus on the audio and not the fatigue or the time, you're controlling the quitting mind because the quitting mind wants to look at the time. The quitting mind wants to say, oh, I'm tired. But if you focus on the information, along with the oxygen to the brain, you retain more information. I feel, and that's what I've been doing. But you talking about pharmacy?
Yeah, I want to just reaffirm what you're saying there because, as I said, I went to NYU for one semester. In that one semester, I worked hard. I had a 4.0 GPA, and I dropped out.
Damn, I ain't
Big
never had
reason
that.
was the cost. The cost.
Right.
First of all, like one semester was like 30K. I was like, how does this make sense? I didn't feel like the value that I was getting for it. Cause I mean, you go to this lecture and like they have the facility and all that stuff, but like, I mean, you have to do the work, which is fair. Like you want the degree, but I didn't really feel like it was really worth it. And when I look at the outcomes from a lot of people that go through these degrees and then the people you have to spend your time around, um, they, it really wasn't the type of environment that I wanted to be in. Right. Because as you said, when you're curious, it makes more sense for you to follow your curiosity when it comes to learning. And I was very curious about a lot of the things that even led me to go into that degree. And I think that's probably why I had that GPA. But as I said, like there's the other environmental aspects of it and the financial aspect of it that really was distancing me from it. So once I left that behind, that's when I really decided that I'm going to lock in on the fitness thing, right? Because I know I do have a strong curiosity in that. And also I did have a strong curiosity in, all right, well, let me figure out making money in America.
And you was good
So
at it, man. You
uh,
represented your country in two sports. Like that says a lot. And that's a small percentile.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I went down that path. So that's the year 2022. And I officially started my business here in America. I hired a business coach. You could always figure it out on your own online, but having a mentor really does help you avoid a lot of the mistakes that you could make early on. I would say you got to be very smart about who you make that investment with. Do your background research if you want to,
Yeah.
but it really does help you get faster, get to where you need to be faster by avoiding the mistakes that you would make along the way. So it was
Shortcuts.
really helpful for me because go ahead.
Yeah, it's a shortcut because they got 40 years of experience and they can specify for you. That's another thing with college. It's not specific for you in a lecture. It's a curriculum that you have to take certain points of it and make it make sense for you. But what you as a health advocate your whole life, what made you choose pharmaceuticals in America? Because you know that shit is a scam. What made you choose pharmaceuticals?
Uh, well, I didn't choose it. That's not.
Okay.
It's not the career that I'm in right now. But the reason I had an interest in it at first was just simply because I thought chemistry and biochemistry and all that stuff was cool. I was like, oh, it was a childhood type of
Yeah,
curiosity and dream, which
it
I
is
still
cool.
have. I mean, that's
Yeah.
probably the reason why I'm interested in peptides right now and where that's going.
I don't even take ibuprofen. I take preventative action. That's what I say. I don't take
Yeah.
meds, I take preventative action. And that's with your foundation. You're eating whole foods and simple ingredients and a variety from a clean soil most of the time. Obviously, I'm about the balance
Mhm.
80% healthy, 20% fun, 100% happy. Life can't be redone. And I saw one of your posts that said, you can eat this. Do you eat this every day? You eat this. You can eat this every week. You can eat this every month. And you did it for a bunch of different type of things. Let's backtrack. So with pharmaceuticals, is there
Sure.
something that you learned about pharmaceuticals in America that turned you away from that path?
Yes. One, the lifestyle that the pharmacists live, right? That's the first thing that turned me off, just working in a CVS retail and seeing what that looks like. I didn't really feel like I was helping people, right? And the way that the interactions worked, because I feel like when
Give
people
me
get
my
into
drugs.
healthcare and bro, when people
I
get
see.
into healthcare, right? They're like, I'm in this because I want to help people a lot of times, right? And then there's like making money and all that stuff. But I believe in the goodness of people, and I believe a large majority of them they do like the feeling of knowing that they're actually being impactful in somebody's life. And the way that the system that is set up in retail and in healthcare in a lot of cases is the care isn't there anymore. It's more like a machine, right? It's just it's incentivized for profit in a lot of areas. And I'm not going to say that that's a terrible thing, right? Simply because, I'm a businessman and you should always try to make your business efficient for profit. But that profit, when it's tied to people's health and the health of the population, that's where things get a bit muddy. So that's what turned me off there, the way that works. And when it comes to big pharma, the way it stands right now, the way the incentives lie for a lot of things as well is a huge issue. Now, what you said, being preventative first, that's where I'm at as well. I'm not going to say that there's a lot of drugs that don't have value. I mean, I would take ibuprofen. I have no issue with it. The issue with the ibuprofen is, are you abusing it? Because that's
Yeah.
when it really starts doing a lot of negative things to your body.
I'll take
It,
if I got a hangover, okay, because I be out my
uh,
20% fun. And if I got a hangover, I'm like,
yeah,
whoop, real quick. It's situational. If you're recovering from something, you got inflammation. If you obviously get surgery, take pain pills. Like go to the doctor if you
yeah,
have a immediate immediate
yeah,
injury or something like that for sure.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think that's the way you should use it. But the way that the way that the relationships go with doctors and stuff right now, for whatever reason, sometimes there's the incentive, right? With big pharma, if you sometimes the pharmaceutical sales reps, or even the pharmaceutical companies, they reach out to individual doctors, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, but they give an incentive for recommending their drug over another drug, right? And they get like kickbacks and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So it's the incentive for profit over the individual care and the individual health, that's the big issue. And then on top of that, what I'm grateful for in pharmacy is that I can, because I went through that curriculum and I understand, they have to look at these guidelines and they make recommendations based on those algorithms and the white papers, and I could read the research and all that stuff. I'm grateful I have that. So I could empathize with the medical industry and like what they have to deal with and what they're looking at. But then I'm very grateful I have the fitness and nutrition side of it as well, because I could look and say, all right, well, but in a lot of cases when you're pushing this drug, really you're not solving the problem for them. The problem is the fact that they don't eat well. They eat a bunch of crap, right? And then sometimes the doctors are recommending them to eat. I wouldn't call it crap, but like they're giving them recommendations for diet that I'm like, what are you doing? Like you're telling a patient, oh, maybe try the keto diet or the carnivore diet, and I'm like, okay, well, potentially some cases that could work well, but for most people, they're just going to crash and burn on something like that, or exercise recommendations, or um, something as simple as sleep. It's overlooked in the conversations quite a bit, and when it comes to nutrition and exercise, especially, there's really no training whatsoever for medical professionals on that at all.
Yeah.
Like, so that's big. That's the big issue that I have with the pharmaceutical industry, and where I try to bridge that gap with the way that I treat my clients. I'm working on right now actually is trying to build in a telehealth side to it, right? With the relevant licensed professionals so that we can like make it a whole holistic practice. But
Right.
that's a story to be told in 2026.
Well, yeah, well, y'all listening to this, man, the food is the number one poison. That's what brings you to the doctor so they can hit them quotas. So y'all better grow your mind. It's cyclical, man. The food gets you sick and then they cover up the symptoms and then the symptoms bring you back. All right. And if you don't know the farmers, you're going to be in the pharmacy. So find you some products. Find you either you got to grow your own shit or you got to go to a farmer's market or at least shop organic. Even then it's sketchy because that shit getting grown right next to the stuff getting sprayed by an airplane. You telling me that stuff didn't get drifted by the wind. But we do what we do. So then you have the nutrients missing from the food that's lower than it's ever been. Then you have the fillers to keep it from since the transportation era came for trains and planes and boats to keep it fresher longer. Then you have the chemicals trying to replace what's missing in the soil so they can farm faster instead of letting it rejuvenate on its own. So this is all the stuff that's in your apple. This is all the stuff that's in your pineapple, okay? And so how do we bridge the gap? And I'm guessing peptides is something that we're not able to get from our nutrition. Is that something that helps bridge the gap? Does it help flush the gut? Does it help repair? What's the purpose of peptides?
Good question. So peptides, I wouldn't relate peptides too much to filling gaps in nutrition. That's not where peptides lie in terms of value. Where peptides lie in value is that they allow us to, and I use this word very just simply because I can't find a better word immediately, to hack your own biology. So it's biology hacking biology. You, as a person, you're born, like you have peptides already in your body
Yeah,
floating around. They're enzymes, right? They're proteins, they're antibodies. All of these are peptides already in your body. Peptides aren't new. They've been around as long as, biochemistry existed. So what peptides are essentially is they are targeted, I want to say targeted signals that are going to enhance the way that your body functions naturally, right? So, um, converse to a drug where we have this chemical process where we make it it's not natural, right? It's not like biology, it's not biochemistry, it's not amino acids. These are all things related to our body. The drugs that we have, for example, like statins, when we take them, they do have a biological effect, but when they have that biological effect, they have to be broken down and excreted. And that breaking down process and that excretion process, if we don't keep a close eye on that, it could lead to long-term damage or even short-term damage to our bodies, right? A lot of them that they're somewhat toxins because of the way that they are processed and then excreted from the body. With peptides now, peptides, rather than having to go through your liver or your kidneys like other drugs in order to break it down and to get it out of your system, peptides are they could be recycled. So once you take a peptide, you inject it into yourself, and it has its effect. Instead of having to wear out your organs like your liver or your kidneys in order to get it out, it is just chopped up into the base parts, the amino acids, right? Amino acids is It's in you. You already have it. Your body has them, right? You eat it from
Hmm.
food, chicken, your potato, not potatoes, but your chicken, your beef, your eggs. It has amino acids, and these amino acids can then be reused again in your body. So it can make other helpful things like your insulin that your pancreas creates, or it could help build protein, muscle, right? And it could help do a bunch of other things. So instead of having a drug where you come in, it's completely foreign to you, your body has to break it down and get rid of it, you giving your body something that it could somewhat recognize, and then when it's done with it, it can just be like, all right, we'll just reuse you again. It's like a more efficient recycling system, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's what peptides are, and the beauty of them is the targeted way that they can have function on the body, right? So for example, with the GLPs that are very popular right now, like the Ozempics, they are
Wait,
targeting the
Ozempic
GLP.
is a peptide or a replacement for it or
Ozempic
what?
is a peptide. Yeah,
Oh, for
Ozempic is a
real?
peptide. Mounjaro is a
So
peptide. Yeah.
so we have that in us that blocks hunger
Yeah.
hormones, right? And then people just
Yeah.
abuse it.
So there's a GLP hormone. It does block the hunger hormones already. And what the GLP analogs do, they target that receptor, and they create that effect that receptor modulates, right? So, um, when you take an Ozempic, your baseline levels of GLP, the one hormone, right? That it normally increases after you eat and at different phases of your day naturally, but not to the level where you get the effects when you take it from exogenously, when you take it from outside your body, like on Ozempic. So when you take Ozempic, the way that that works, it hits the GLP hormone receptor in your body, and that leads to slowing down your digestion. This is how people lose weight. It's not like it's like magically burning fat or doing anything crazy. It's slowing down your digestion. It's also stabilizing your blood sugar a little bit. Also has a bit of an effect on the brain where it kind of makes you feel satisfied or not as, that the food noise that you get. Like you go through your day and you're like, oh, let me get a Skittles from the drawer, or let me get a nut, a bag of nuts. Let me snack on
Yeah.
it. It it pretty much just calms all of that down. So it gives you this mental freedom to be able to just like focus on your work, focus on whatever tasks are important to you in the moment, be present. And when the time comes to eat food later in the day, if you remember to do it, because most people just forget when they're on the GLP, you can have it, but it really just it frees you in that sense. So that's how peptides work. It's like
Let
biology
me just say,
hacking biology. It's not so much, yeah,
yeah.
like uh, any type of nutritional gaps, but where you do have to be careful, especially with the GLPs, is the effect that they do have can lead you to undereat. That is the
Boy,
big issue that people
I
have
be
on it.
seeing, I can see it in people's face. Now you look like you got a pit bull head on the dopamine pincher body, and you got saggy skin and no muscle in your neck. You can't even turn your neck fast. You about to snap it, girl. What you
Yeah,
doing? And your
yeah,
skin all saggy. See, people don't work out with it. They don't have the habits before they use it, and they don't have the discipline so that when they get off of it, that they don't have control of their appetite. So they go right back to eating, and then when fat cells, they blow up faster if you already had them. So it's like when people are on it,
mhm,
you're hooked for life. Now you're lacking nutrients and muscle. Now your bones is brittle. Dang.
yeah, yeah. You hit
see,
it nail
I
on the head,
see it.
man. Yeah, yeah. So for most people, you see those celebrities or you see people get that Ozempic face and they look terrible. The big issue there is, they're just taking it without implementing the habits, as you said. What you need is to make sure that you have a strong nutritional foundation while you're on it. Because I'll tell you, the GLP in and of itself, the Ozempic, the peptide that you're taking for fat loss, in and of itself isn't harming you. It's what effect it's having on your body, what it leads your behavior to do. That's the issue. So you need to be smart. You got to be able to use these things as a tool, not as a crutch, as a tool. So
Mhm.
yeah, hunger is a problem. That's like one of the biggest issues people have. Oh man, I always want to just go get this little snack, this treat, whatever. Now you don't have that excuse when you take the peptide. Now with food noise, it doesn't exist. Now you got to like consciously remember, oh, I got to eat my protein. Oh, I got to get this chicken. Oh, I got to make sure I eat my fruits and vegetables or take my multivitamin so that I can have the fuel, because that's what your body needs. It's an essential nutrient, right? Your vitamins, your minerals, that's where you get your energy, your focus. You could avoid the brain fog. And then once you get those with the GLP, with the protein, and then with exercise, all those three things make you function at a high level. Full transparency, I've been on the GLP for the past, it's going to be a year in February, March.
What'd
I've
you
been
notice?
testing them out.
But you had the foundation
With it,
before of years of foundation and
of
education. So
course, of
what'd you
course, of
notice the
course,
biggest
and
difference?
yeah, and what I'll share with some people, because I know the question will come up. You're like, oh, he's injecting peptides. He's probably been doing steroids before. Never touched it before,
I thought
right? So
that at
I'm
first
before
until I
peptides,
started
fully
learning.
natty, right? Just letting them know. But yeah, the first thing that I noticed was how effective it was, to be honest with you. I was skeptical when it first came out on the market. Everybody's talking about Ozempic, and the big issue that I had is in the early studies, there were like, when you look into the data, exactly what you said, there are people losing the majority of the weight that they lose, about 2/3 of it was coming from lean body mass. What that means is they were losing bone, water, and muscle instead
Dang.
of fat. So 66% of the weight that you were losing on Ozempic was like bone, muscle, and fat. How is
Shit you
that good?
need.
That's not good. Exactly, that's not good. So, that made me very skeptical, but then when you kind of just look into how they went about doing the study, what are the interventions that they made 0 changes to nutrition, they didn't made 0 changes to the diet. So, when you just take this drug, and let's say you're a standard American, the standard American diet is just like junk food, a burger, pizza, snacks, whatever it
Yep,
is, and you
processed.
take a drug, yeah, fully processed foods, all this stuff. You take a drug that just makes you eat less of the junk, right? Now, the junk doesn't have your vitamins. The junk doesn't have your minerals. The junk doesn't have the things that you need to have energy and feel like a functioning person. And then you take a drug that's going to have you eat less of what is already inefficient for you. Like, no, duh, you're going to lose a lot of your healthy function, right? But when so once I realized that, I was like, you know what? Let me just do my own self experimentation, which is radical for me, right? Because I I I'm much like you. If I'm putting something in my body, like I want to be very certain that this thing is going to be really good. So I went into so GLPs, Ozempic, and the drug class of Ozempic. They've been on the market for a while. I mean, they've been researching this stuff since the 80s. So when I looked into the safety data, they look pretty good. They honestly not a lot to worry about. Like the biggest concern that most people have on it is like nausea, and like if you take too much of it, right, too quickly, then you get things like constipation and whatnot. So you have to be very careful. But that's the biggest issue that you have with it. And so I decided that let me give this a shot for myself, and it's just extremely effective. Within the first week, I found myself remembering, not forgetting to eat, and just when I would try to eat, I normally have a huge appetite. I mean, I could finish 2 large pizzas by myself. That's not a
Same.
joke.
We don't need all that though, but I could too. Uh,
Don't need it, right? But I could just sit down and go through that, no issue. And I remember I think I had ordered a pizza just to eat, because I'm like, yeah, I live with
Balance,
20,
baby.
10%.
Yeah.
So I took a slice of pizza. I ate one slice, and I just remember I'm done. I was that's weird.
Satisfied.
I was like, I'm satisfied. I don't need it anymore. So once I realized that, I continued to use it. I continued to like see the progress, and now I actually have a goal right now. Uh, so over the last 10 months or so that I've been using it, I haven't been extremely on top of like doing the things that I'll have my clients do, like track your macros, or be very diligent with your numbers, because I have a long history of that, so I more or less know what I need
You
to
know
eat,
it, yeah.
get the protein high, whatever, right? But I've lost 30 pounds, and I'm at a weight right now where back in 2019, when I did my last bodybuilding competition, that was in my last year of pharmacy school. By the way, don't recommend. Um,
Bodybuilding
I
or pharmacy school?
yeah, I did. Yeah, I did a no, the bodybuilding competition in pharmacy school, right?
Oh,
Having to diet
yeah,
while
don't.
you're studying for like studying for therapeutics and like all that shit. Nah, don't do it. You know? But I when I got down to like 200 pounds or so, bro, my mind, when you're that lean, my mind was just all about food. Like you'd be scrolling on Instagram, you're just looking at food porn all the time, like the most ridiculous food items that otherwise you would never even think about eating just looks so attractive to you on the phone. And that's what your mind is like when you get super lean. I'm at 205 pounds right now, like when I was back then, relatively the same muscle mass. And right now, this entire like last week, me and my girlfriend were talking, and I was like, I don't even care about food. I'm like forgetting to eat. I gotta like force myself to like drink a protein shake just to get my protein in because I know it's important. I don't want to lose my muscle mass. And I have maintained my muscle mass and my strength throughout the entire period this past year that I've been using it. So,
That's
um,
what I was gonna ask.
it's
Your strength. How about your
yeah,
numbers in the
the
gym?
strength is there.
Still on point.
The numbers in the gym. Oh, yeah, and I want to put a caveat on that. I did have a surgery back in a knee surgery back in September last year, but even then, my strength in that leg has been improving, and everything has been fine. So it's I, I'm surprised to say this is one of the developments out of big pharma that I would say it very much has a place. It very much has a place.
You need
I
a
would say
mentor,
every time.
right? I was gonna
Yeah, for
say you need a
sure.
mentor and a coach if you're gonna go doing this. Don't just listen to your doctor. Go
Yeah,
go ask somebody who's
yeah.
done it or is a professional in it.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk down on doctors too much, but I would say I have a lot of clients. So one of my clients, he works in anesthesiology, so he works very closely with doctors, and he talks to them. He's on my program, and he talks to them about the program that he's on with me and what he's doing, and the conversations he would have with these doctors, and what they would tell him that to do differently from what we have him doing, which is extremely effective. This guy, he's lost 35 pounds in like 12 weeks with us. And energy is great. He's still going on vacation with his family. He went to the Bahamas. He had no issue like trying to keep everything in control with the food and so on. He's still working out. He's still hitting PRs in the gym. So things are going exceptionally well for him. And whenever he has conversations with doctors about it, the doctors who have tried the GLPs themselves, and when they talk about it, they're like, "Oh man, that GLP is sucky. Yeah, the side effects are just too significant. I can't do it," and they quit. But the problem is, and this is the issue with some of the guidelines right now as they stand, I think they up the dose way too quick, right? What you need to do with the GLPs is there's a dosing range that they give you. You need to start at the lowest dose, and you need to stay at the lowest dose for the longest time ever. And only when you start to feel like hunger is coming back up, and like, oh man, I'm actually feeling starved, and my food intake is going up. That's the only time you're like thinking, all right, let me up the dose a little bit. And that's the way you need to approach it. But for whatever reason, doctors
Well,
would just go straight by
we
the
know the
guidelines,
reason.
and the guidelines
They want you to
yeah.
run out and come back.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway.
But damn, well, man, that was super educational, man, informative, inspirational. I appreciate that. I'm definitely going to be looking into peptides, just as an educational component. I'm not big on shooting stuff in me, but that's everybody's different, man. And I've this is the first time I've heard a positive story about Ozempic. So thank you for that, because that widens my perspective. But do you do this coaching online? You're located in Texas, so do you do this online? Or
Yeah,
how
yeah,
can
yeah.
people reach out to you?
Anybody who wants to have a conversation with me, just reach out to me online for sure.
All right, I'll put your Instagram. I'll put it in the show notes
Yeah, on all platforms at the War in English.
at the Warren English. Yeah, not the war on the English, okay, y'all. That's not he's not from here, but he's with us, y'all. Okay, at the Warren English. But I put it in the show notes, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. I'll see you online. In the meantime, y'all, make sure you tap in with him, tap in with me, but definitely tap in with you and yourself and your foundation. You know, we got the Choose Yourself Community Accountability meeting every Tuesday at 10 a.m. We got CYC retreats every year. We got meet and grows all around the country. We got my book online. Please leave a review if you like what you hear. Send it to your friends. In the meantime, big dream time, in between time, gut clean time, routine time. Keep the gratitude in your attitude and always choose yourself.